City Council continues to whittle away at the proposed tax levy increase as budget deliberations continue. Good evening and thank you for joining us. For the second straight meeting, City Council has lowered the proposed tax levy hike.
Last night was the second budget deliberation meeting and saw debate on the Thunder Bay Public Library, yard waste pickup, and downtown cleanliness. It's more changes to the proposed budget, again dropping the tax levy hike. That happened at City Council's second budget deliberation meeting on Thursday night. The proposed levy hike now sits at 5.91% before growth and 5.47% after. One of the changes came through limiting a proposed expansion to leaf and yard waste pickup.
Yard waste is so much more than just leaves.
The expansion would have seen pickup increased from 2 to 4 times a year, with council settling on 3. It comes with a cost saving of $85,000, though Councillor Andrew Folds believed the original expansion to be important.
7% of yard waste goes into the trash. And so we are totally losing that diversion. And this is the cheapest way to do it.
Another debate saw one councillor wanting to add $63,000 onto the budget for a part-time position to clean up downtown litter.
BIAs are working hard to keep their areas clean, but they can't afford it.
It was brought forward by at-large councillor Rajni Agarwal, who stressed the benefits it would bring downtown businesses.
I like saving money, but I think we're saving a lot more money by increasing income and beautification in the neighborhoods that need it. This is summertime. That's when people are out walking.
Agarwal's ask was eventually defeated by council. During the meeting, the Thunder Bay Public Library's $6.9 million budget was approved, but council shot down one aspect of the potential library centralization at Intercity Shopping Centre.
It's innovative for Thunder Bay and new to us, but it's very common in other municipalities. I mean, we already have one library branch in the mall right now.
At Tuesday's meeting, Councillor Michael Zucino considered adding $150,000 to the library budget for an outside consultant to look at the potential intercity location. That was voted down on Thursday, with some, such as Councillor Brian Hamilton, believing the project isn't a council priority.
This project could come to us in June and it could be dead on arrival. We're going to have the multi-turf decision in March or around then. We're going to have the asset management plan and a whole bunch of other things. We're looking at a binder full of them right here.
City Council's next budget deliberation meeting, the third of 4, is happening on Monday.
Come September, more local students will have to walk to school or get a ride, as they'll no longer be eligible to take a school bus. Student Transportation Services of Thunder Bay has been advised by the Ministry of Education of a new transportation funding formula for the next school year. It will impact students with the Lakehead, Catholic, and French school boards based on the distance they live from their schools. Due to the new formula, most of the school bus eligibility distances have been doubled from the ones currently in place. Kindergarten students will now have a minimum distance of 800 meters from school to be able to take the bus, compared to the previous 400 meters. Grade 1s to 3 will see an increase from 800 meters to 1.6 kilometers, and high school students now have a minimum distance of 3.2 kilometers. The eligibility for grades 4 to 8 will remain unchanged. Student Transportation Manager Craig Murphy says he understands how difficult the news is, and he feels for the families affected.
We've been working with our school boards and the province to try to see if there's some way we can soften the blow. We certainly, our job here is to get students to and from schools, so when something like this comes along and we're not able to provide the same level of service as we've always been, or strive to do, it can be quite upsetting. It's certainly not something that ourselves or our school boards want to happen, but quite frankly, these families that are affected are just no longer funded for transportation by the province of Ontario.
Local school boards and student transportation officials say they acknowledge the challenges this announcement brings, but they hope the advance notice will help families prepare for the change.
Footsteps Family Centre is considering closing its childcare programs at 4 local elementary schools. The organization's board of directors is pointing to several factors as they struggle to determine whether they can continue to operate after the end of the school year. Footsteps currently offers before school, after school, and daycare services for younger children at Our Lady of Charity, Gorham and Ware, 5 Mile, and Holy Cross schools. In a letter to parents, Footsteps officials say the decision to possibly end their programs has not been made lightly. The key factor is their staffing levels, which then impacts safety and quality of care for the children. Over 110 kids are currently signed up at the 4 schools, with a long waiting list behind them. Parents who received the letters say they're upset, with one saying a closure would be devastating for many families. Heather Harris from the Lakehead School Board says they'll do what they can to help families at their 2 affected schools if Footsteps does shut its doors.
Well, we're disappointed in the closure. For sure, we know it'll be challenging for families and stressful. So we are committed to continuing to work with DSAB as well as our third-party childcare providers to hope that we can fill those holes. We do work with our community partners to determine need for before and after school care, and then try to meet those needs for families. We know it's important.
A final decision from the Footsteps Board is expected by the end of March, at which point the plan will be announced to the families they serve. In the meantime, Footsteps will continue operations as normal until the end of the current school year.
Admatung First Nation is getting some much-needed funding in the wake of a devastating fire that destroyed the school there last week. Indigenous Affairs Minister Patty Hajdu announced today that her government has approved over $3 million to help the community. The First Nation hopes to have a temporary school set up by September, but in the meantime, there are roughly 300 students left without a physical classroom. In a statement to TBT News, Heidi affirmed her commitment to helping the students continue learning in the immediate term. The money will go towards educational resources, hiring more teachers, and providing mental health support for the students. With this funding, Hajdu says they are confirming to the people of Admatung that they are there to support education in their community. Hajdu adds she's been very clear that the government will be at the community's side as they work to build a new school.
The Ford government has no plans to remove wood rights from the Terrace Bay Pulp Mill. That's according to Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry Graydon Smith, who addressed the fate of the mill earlier this week in Thunder Bay.
So we know the wood supply is critical to the future operation of the mill, so there's nothing contemplated with any change right now on that. We obviously need to see how all this plays out, but we don't want to do anything that would stymie any future opportunity.
AV Terrace Bay is one of 8 partners in a nonprofit corporation that holds the Sustainable Forest License for the Kenogami Forest. That license includes a commitment to supply wood fiber to Terrace Bay Pulp. The possibility that those wood rights could be separated from the mill was a major concern for union representatives, following the announcement 1 month ago that the mill would be idled indefinitely. A lack of communication from the mill's parent company, Aditya Birla, was another big issue. Smith says his government has a reasonable relationship with the Fortune 500 company.
They have not given us a clear path to what their future operation looks like. They have not ruled out a sale. They, to my knowledge, have not ruled out any options for the future. I'd call that good news, but at the same time, there are workers right now that want to know what the future looks like, and a community that wants to know what the future looks like.
Smith says his government can't force Aditya Birla to the table, but he says he's asked them to step up communications with the community and says his ministry is prepared to assist should Birla come forward with a plan for the mill.
The Scanda First Nation is marking another grim anniversary, as the community has now gone 29 years under a boil water advisory. It's the longest standing boil water situation in the country. The advisory was first declared on February 1st, 1995, and many community members have lived their entire lives without potable tap water. Chief Chris Munias and Indigenous Affairs Minister Patty Hajdu met yesterday and issued a joint media release. They say the two parties are making significant progress towards achieving clean, safe drinking water through a 12-point action plan. The government has spent over $29 million to retrofit the current water treatment plant, which was built in 1993 and expanded in 2017. Both Munias and Hajdu agree that a new water plant will be needed to meet the needs of the community, and Hajdu has committed to supporting Scanda in the design phase of this new plant.
The Superior Court is siding with the province, ruling Premier Doug Ford's mandate letters to Cabinet should stay secret.
It's a major victory for the Ford government. Siobhan Morris explains.
I will speak my mind.
Since 2018, the Premier's been in court, fighting to keep his marching orders to Cabinet private. Directions come through mandate letters. The country's highest court has sided with the government, ruling those letters are exempt from Freedom of Information laws. In a unanimous decision, the court says cabinet privilege prevails.
Cabinet privilege is an important concept. To be able to have a frank discussion, to have arguments, to have disagreements among cabinets so that you fire test different points of view.
The call to release a mandate letter or not is purely political.
Get to work. Here's a list of things I'd like to have you do before the end of the mandate. They're actually not that scintillating.
This is not a win for the people of Ontario.
The province's opposition leader says what's most disappointing is the time and money.
Hundreds of thousands of tax dollars that have been wasted by this government trying to prevent Ontarians from knowing what their priorities are and what his direction to his ministers was.
Earlier this week, the finance minister insisted the government has been transparent about its plans, campaigning on a budget introduced just before the 2022 vote.
A 241-page document to say to the people, if you elect us, this is what we will deliver.
But critically,
they promised Ontarians they weren't going to carve up the green belt, and they turned around and did exactly that.
It's why Reid says choosing not to release mandate letters isn't a good look.
It comes in the context of the Greenbelt investigations, of suggestions that people are paying money to get certain kinds of results, that the privileged and the insiders can get what they want out of cabinet.
And when things are kept secret, suspicion can flourish.
And that was Siobhan Morris reporting. The president and CEO of Synergy North has announced his upcoming retirement. Tim Wilson's last day will be May 15th. Wilson joined the utility in 2001 under its former name, Thunder Bay Hydro, as the manager of market compliance. He held a variety of leadership roles and took over the top job in May of 2021, following the retirement of Rob Mace. The Synergy North Board of Directors will begin searching for a new president and CEO in the coming weeks.
Thunder Bay's Community Traffic Awareness Committee has teamed up with City Police to urge motorists to slow down and think of the children.
A new driver awareness campaign was launched today. Lee Noonan has the details.
The Think of Me campaign is a partnership between the Community Traffic Awareness Committee and the Thunder Bay Police. They're asking drivers in the city to respect speed limits and think about vulnerable pedestrians when they're on the roads.
So we're going to be doing an education aspect of it, where we're going to be doing some kind of public education. We're going to be handing out these handouts, mainly during traffic enforcement initiatives around school zones. And then we're also going to be kind of stepping up traffic enforcement in school zones. Right behind us here, right at the crosswalk, end of the day, it's 3:15, kids are out, crossing guards are there. He's been there for 7 minutes and stopped 2 cars.
Traffic Constable Tom Armstrong says despite enforcement efforts, drivers in the city don't seem to be getting the message to slow down, especially in school zones. They'll be handing out information cards featuring artwork by local children in the hopes that the kids can get the message through.
If you're in a school zone, slow down. If you're going by a crossing guard zone, pay attention, right? You're going by a school bus, pay attention to it, right? Everybody seems to be in a rush these days. People aren't as attentive. You have to realize that your actions can have catastrophic consequences.
The focus of the campaign is on kids, but Armstrong says drivers need to be aware of pedestrians and vulnerable road users of all ages and abilities. Over the past year, there have been a number of fatal collisions in the city. Armstrong hopes this campaign might help change the tide.
We've had some just very, very, major incidents, and those should be reminders to people that when you're driving, the responsibility is on you, right? Keep everybody else safe. So pay attention. Follow the rules, be courteous to others, and ensure everybody can kind of make it home safely or make it wherever they're going safe.
Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The lack of snow in the Thunder Bay area has forced organizers of an annual charity snowmobile ride to change their plans. Sled for Eternity usually takes place in the Kakabeka Falls area in support of Adult and Teen Challenge. This year's event was supposed to be held tomorrow, but instead it's being merged with a similar fundraiser in Dryden and taking place in that community on February 17th. Northwestern Ontario Development Director Corey Retaller is optimistic the weather won't be an issue at that location.
The Thunder Bay Adventure Trails said that we needed to get at least another 12 inches of snow in order for it to be a go here, and we're definitely not 12 inches of snow yet. So yeah, we are hopeful. I have talked to the Power Toboggan Club in Dryden, and they said that for the ride to be perfect there, they need 6 more inches of snow, and the forecast says that we should be getting another 6 inches before the 17th.
The Dryden event is planned to go on regardless of the amount of snow that would make for the perfect conditions. But Retaller says under a worst-case scenario, their contingency plan would be to have a virtual event like they did during the pandemic.
Now, of course, it is one of the most important days of the year when it comes to weather forecasting. Haley, happy Groundhog Day.
Well, thank you very much. Happy Groundhog Day to you as well. It is one of my favorite holidays of the year. And Punxsutawney Phil, one of the most famous groundhogs from the movie Groundhog Day, did predict an early spring this year. And in Thunder Bay, we're looking at similar conditions, hoping for that early spring, because our high today was right on the freezing mark, which is still above seasonal for this time of year. We did have a colder morning, though. At 7 a.m., we hit our low of -16, feeling like -22 with the wind chill. So quite the jump to zero, which we reached at 3 o'clock under mainly sunny to sunny skies. As we look at the rest of our region right now, most of the region saw highs that were above the freezing mark or at the freezing mark, with an exception of a few areas such as Kenora and Dryden. Kenora had a misty morning, which led to a foggy, cloudy afternoon. Similar with Dryden, cloudy day for them there, but in Fort Frances, beautifully sunny. They're currently at 2 degrees, at a Coconut 3. Armstrong, they had a sunny day today, but they had a very cold evening last night. They were at -19, so -3 being their high of the day is still a positive jump for them. Greenstone, sunny and 2 right now. Marathon also had a colder evening. Their high was actually 0, similar to us, but they are now at -2. And then as we look at Sault Ste. Marie and Wawa, they're both at 1 degree right now under partly cloudy skies. As we look at Thunder Bay for the evening, we're going to drop down to -10 tonight, feeling like -14 with the wind chill. Under clear skies to start, but after midnight we will become partly cloudy with winds from the northwest, but nothing significant. And now we've talked about Punxsutawney Phil. He's from the States, but we actually had 57 different predictions between the States and Canada, and I'm going to have more details on the Canadian predictions after.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Haley. I'll be looking forward to that. We both will, I'm sure.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, well, turning our attention now to national news. Canada announced it's considering sanctions against what it calls extremist Israeli settlers. And we'll have more on that as your Friday News Hour continues.
We are looking into how to make sure that those responsible for extremist violence or extremist settler violence in the West Bank are held to account for it.